Europe's industries were once symbols of pride and prosperity, serving as the backbone of economic strength, innovation, and development across the continent. Towering steel mills, humming assembly lines, and bustling factories stood as testaments to Europe's industrial prowess. However, these symbols of strength are now showing profound cracks. Germany's once thriving assembly lines are faltering, steel mills are shutting down, and entire sectors appear to be teetering on the brink of collapse. Despite numerous warning signs, the full scope of this issue remains unnoticed by many. The reality is stark. Europe's industrial dream is unraveling at an alarming pace, and the consequences of this decline could reshape not only Europe but the global economy. What has caused this collapse, and how severe will the impact be? Let's delve into the crisis unraveling before our eyes. Imagine running a manufacturing operation heavily reliant on steady energy costs. Factories that once thrived are now grappling with skyrocketing expenses. According to Reuters, rising energy prices are putting immense pressure on key sectors, particularly heavy industries such as chemicals, steel, and automobiles. Germany, often referred to as the economic engine of Europe, is witnessing entire sectors questioning their viability. The issue isn't just about rising costs. Energy is becoming increasingly unpredictable. Manufacturers are finding it nearly impossible to operate in such an unstable environment. The results are reduced production, closures, and widespread job losses. The most troubling part? There is no simple solution in sight. Europe's transition to sustainable energy was meant to be a redemption story, a chance to lead the world in green innovation. However, even this ambitious effort is riddled with challenges. Consider Northvolt, the Swedish battery giant that was once celebrated as a European success story. Today, it stands as a cautionary tale. Rising costs and competitiveness issues have plagued Northvolt, revealing cracks in Europe's green industrial initiatives. The European Union's aspirations to dominate the global sustainable energy market face obstacles such as high expenses, sluggish approval processes, and fierce competition from the United States and China. If even a powerhouse like Northvolt is struggling, what hope is there for smaller businesses trying to stay afloat? The European steel industry, which forms the foundation of numerous sectors such as automotive, construction, and manufacturing, is in dire straits. It is facing a trifecta of challenges: soaring energy costs, cheap imports, and dwindling demand. Steel plants are shutting down, workers are losing their jobs, and executives are scrambling for answers. Without swift and decisive action, Europe risks losing a cornerstone of its industrial base. Once these factories close, rebuilding them becomes an almost insurmountable challenge. The consequences are dire. Mass unemployment, economic destabilization, and the erosion of Europe's industrial strength. Europe's automotive industry, long a symbol of engineering excellence, is also in turmoil. A lethal combination of new tariffs, intense competition, and rising manufacturing costs is threatening the sector. The influx of cheaper electric vehicles from China has created an uneven playing field, making it difficult for European manufacturers to compete. Giants like Volkswagen and Stellantis are caught in a bind, facing shrinking profit margins and mounting pressures. If the automotive sector collapses, the ripple effects will be devastating, with millions of jobs at risk and entire supply chains disrupted. The fragility of Europe's supply chains has been laid bare by recent crises. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the vulnerabilities of industrial networks, with delays and shortages affecting everything from electronics to medical supplies. Today, geopolitical tensions, such as the war in Ukraine and strained relations with China, add further pressure. Europe's heavy reliance on imports for critical resources, such as semiconductors and rare earth materials, leaves it vulnerable to supply chain interruptions. Factories cannot function without a steady flow of resources, and a single bottleneck can halt entire production lines. This dependence on international partners has become a ticking time bomb, threatening to paralyze European industries at any moment. But industrial decline isn't Europe's only concern. Agriculture, a vital sector that feeds into industries such as food production, packaging, and transportation, is also under strain. Droughts, rising operational costs, and global competition are taking a toll on Europe's farmers. As farms become less profitable, the ripple effects are felt across various industries. This agricultural struggle further erodes Europe's economic foundation, creating a cycle of decline that is difficult to break. The human cost of this industrial crisis cannot be overstated. Factory closures lead to widespread job losses, plunging communities into economic despair. Industries such as steel, automotive, and energy are shedding jobs at an alarming rate. If this trend continues, Europe could face a tsunami of unemployment that destabilizes entire towns. These are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent real people and families whose lives are being upended. Europe was once a global leader in technological innovation, driving advancements in manufacturing and research. However, this edge is slipping away. While countries like the United States and China make massive investments in artificial intelligence, robotics, and advanced manufacturing, Europe is lagging behind. Bureaucratic red tape, delayed decision-making, and a lack of risk funding are stifling innovation. Without cutting-edge technology, European manufacturers cannot boost productivity or compete on a global scale. This innovation gap threatens to make European industries obsolete, turning once thriving factories into relics of the past. The push for carbon neutrality by 2050 is another factor complicating Europe's industrial landscape. While this goal is both ambitious and necessary, the transition to greener practices comes with hefty costs. Industries must invest in cleaner technologies, overhaul their operations, and comply with stringent environmental regulations. The financial burden is immense, particularly for energy-intensive sectors such as steel and chemicals. Rising costs for renewable energy infrastructure and emissions regulations are forcing many businesses to the brink. At the same time, countries like China, with lower production costs and looser regulations, continue to outpace Europe in manufacturing. If Europe cannot strike a balance between sustainability and competitiveness, its green ambitions may accelerate industrial decline rather than prevent it. Beyond economic and technological challenges, Europe is grappling with a crisis of leadership. The continent's political landscape is fragmented, with individual countries pursuing their own priorities. Coordination at the EU level is often too slow to address urgent issues. While the United States has implemented bold measures like the Inflation Reduction Act to boost domestic manufacturing, Europe's response has been disjointed and sluggish. Without strong, unified leadership, industries are left to fend for themselves, leading to delayed investments, factory closures, and job losses. Europe's industrial crisis demands a clear and cohesive vision, but such a vision is conspicuously absent. Policymakers must act swiftly to address the continent's economic challenges, or the consequences could be catastrophic. Entire sectors could vanish, millions of jobs could be lost, and Europe's global influence could wane. A weaker Europe would have far-reaching implications, disrupting global trade, weakening alliances, and strengthening competing economies. The warning signs are everywhere: collapsing industries, rising costs, and a lack of decisive political action. The stakes are immense, not just for Europe, but for the world. A collapse of Europe's industrial base would send shockwaves through global supply chains, economies, and markets. The clock is ticking, and the choices made today will determine whether Europe's industrial legacy remains a source of pride or becomes a relic of the past. The question remains: can Europe rally the leadership, creativity, and vision needed to save its industrial future? Or is this the beginning of an irreversible decline? The world is watching, and the next chapter in this unfolding crisis is being written right now.